Hello and welcome to Organic Edible Garden. Today we're going to focus on weeds, which for any organic gardener is just a plant in the wrong place. In this bed I've got a few plants that have self-sown from the last crop, along with other weeds. But they have to go, and that's for three reasons. Firstly, they're going to compete with the other plants growing in this garden. Secondly, they can outgrow the crop that's already growing in this bed. And thirdly, they can be a habitat for the bad bugs like the green shield beetles to overwinter. There are three methods I use to control weeds. Firstly, it's a good garden implement to loosen them up. I'm using the Niwashi, but you can also use things like a hoe or a trowel. One of the reasons I like a Niwashi is that it can cut through the weeds. One important tip is you need to keep the blade sharp. I probably won't have to weed this bed again. I've planted these brassicas reasonably close together, and over time they'll stop the light coming in and stop the weeds germinating, like the others that we planted beforehand. When pulling out your weeds, it's important to remember, try and pull the whole plant out, including the roots. And it's important to pull them out before they go to seed. Because these haven't gone to seed, I can now use these weeds. I can make a liquid fertilizer out of them, I can use them in my compost, I can even trench them in the garden. The second way I deal with weeds is with mulching. In this case, we can just put it directly on top of the weeds to smother them. They'll break down and provide nutrition for the plants, and they'll suppress any other weeds coming up. We planted these tamarillos about 5 weeks ago. Two are doing really well, but one's just not thriving. And like humans, not all plants are the same. This plant will probably never be a healthy plant. You can see that by the way the bugs have gone and eaten the leaves, and it's just not going to do it. So in that case, we're going to dig this one out and we're going to plant a new one in its place. I like to put newspapers down before I put my mulch. Newspapers are good for the soil. They've got a vegetable ink which doesn't harm the soil, but I would avoid those glossy flyers. You can put your newspapers down reasonably thick. I'm going to use a mulch that we've made up from chippings from the pruning of the fruit trees. It's also got some green stuff in it which will heat it up. But you can also use things like grass clippings from your lawnmower, any type of compost. And ultimately, when this stuff breaks down, not only will it feed the plant and suppress the weeds, but it'll keep the soil cool in summer and build up the earthworm population. A third and highly effective way to get rid of weeds for me is with a flamethrower. This is great on things like driveways or edging, or even in garden beds where you're not going to burn the plants. After half an hour, by putting a flame on the plant, it breaks down the cells and the plants will collapse and go dead. The flamethrower is great for most annual weeds, but for perennial weeds, like kikuyu or twitch, even though it will burn it off, they'll come again. It's not going to be a systemic way to control them, but burning off enough times, you're going to knock it back. And one final thing, if there's fire risk warnings in your area, it's not great to use, especially on bark gardens where they can smoulder for long periods. I've taken my pumpkins off the shed roof down and now I'm going to store them for winter. You can put them in a box with hay or wood chippings or something like that that's quite rough, as long as it's not a flat surface. But I prefer to use them on drying racks where the air movement can flow through. The important thing is that none of the pumpkins touch each other. because that's what sets the rot in. If you've got excess kumara at this time of year, now's the time to store it. These guys have been dried and I'm going to store them in boxes like this, separated by newspaper. If your kumara snapped off at one piece, eat it now because it won't store. You can wrap your kumara up individually in newspaper and put them in the crate. But I think by making layers and just making sure they don't touch, this is a lot easier and quicker. We'll cover it with one more piece of newspaper and we just store it in a cool, dark place.